It's Saturday, November 6, 2021, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Brett Chamberlain. His YouTube channel is Julian Chamberlain. I think his middle name is Brett, but he uses it as his first name. Is that right, Brett?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, and his YouTube channel and one of his videos was recommended to me by one of you guys, one of the viewers, and that's the great thing about the community is I get a lot of how can I say links, messages from the viewers, and it helps me create content. And the message was, look at this guy, he's paying for petrol, or as the Americans would say it, gas, with a 20-pound silver coin at Asda, and they're accepting it. So I thought it was really interesting. I hadn't heard of Julian's channel. Everyone should check it out. It's a really good channel. He talks about other things as well. He's got about 8,000 subscribers, and hopefully that number will increase. And yeah, welcome, Brett. How are you doing today?
All right, thank you. Yeah, nice to speak with you today.
Yeah, so if we could start on how you figured out that you could actually use silver coins to still pay for things today, how you've looked at the legal tender laws and used it to your advantage, and how you were able to get these coins, if you could go over that, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, it all started out metals detecting down where the fair goes. Now, I found about £200 worth of coins that were a bit corroded, and I wanted to do something interesting with them, not just take them to the bank. So I thought it'd be quite interesting if I took them to Tesco petrol station and filled up my car with diesel, because I would owe them the money and they'd be obliged to accept them. I thought it'd be quite amusing, seeing as the coins were sort of tarnished looking, to see what they had to say. And so that's what I did. I filled up with diesel, put the coins on the counter, and they didn't like them, didn't want to accept them, and wanted to phone the police. Now, the police turned up and threatened me with arrest unless I pay in some other way or fill out the no means to pay form. So under duress, I filled out the no means to pay form, and obviously I get the top copy. And I came home with it and I had to think about it, and I did some reading and some research. And I thought, you know what, that's outrageous. Just because these coins are tarnished, that doesn't mean that they haven't got the same legal status. So, I thought, well, it'd be interesting to fill up with diesel and go back with my other car with some jerry cans and get some coins from the post office. So I maxed out on the amount of coins I could get, and they're all brand new coins. When I say maxed out, you can only use 20 pence of 1p, 20 pence of 2p, and so on. So it's only until you get up to a pound coin where it's unlimited. So I had this big pile of brand new coins. So I filled up with diesel. It was £135. And I went into the shop kiosk and poured the coins on the counter. And the man got irate and said, "That's it, we're phoning the police again." So the police turned up, and he said, "Well, he's trying to pay with coins." And the police said, "Well, that's not a police matter," and sort of went away amused. And I thought that was quite interesting, wasn't it? And I think that was largely it. And I paid for the petrol, and the coins that they refused to accept, I thought it was amusing that I could use them in the self-service checkouts. Because the self-service checkout doesn't look for how shiny a coin is, just checks its weight and size and magnetism and things like that. So they got them anyway. And that was that. And not long after that, the Royal Mint launched these new series of coins. And the first one out was the £20 coin. Now, I've got one here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is the same one you've got. It's got the Georgian Dragon on it.
Yeah, that's the one I have too. Mine is from 2018. Do you know what year is yours?
Right, let's get the glasses on.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
It's actually it's a really nice coin, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's 15.6 grams. So it's half an ounce.
Half an ounce, £20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and anyway, so I read all the literature and it said these coins are legal tender, £20 for £20. So I bought myself some from the Royal Mint. I think I probably bought 5 of them for £100. And they come in the post, Royal Mail special delivery. The postage is included. So I went off down to Tesco, and in the early days I had my phone, but I didn't have it on video. I just was sort of like doing an audio recording, and went in, filled up the fuel, put the coins on the counter, and of course they refused to accept them. Phoned the police. You can see these on my video. I did it multiple times. They kept telling me that they wouldn't accept them, but they will take them this time, but not next time. And then next time I'd go back and do it again, and they would get irate and phone the police. And the police would come down and try and tell me they're not legal tender, and I would explain they are, and we'd have a little discussion about it. And then, you know, sometimes the police would threaten me, and then sometimes the police would just go and tell Tesco, look, they are legal tender, and it's a civil dispute. So I thought it was quite amusing. In the end, I went on Jeremy Vine. This was a long time ago. This was about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I went on Jeremy Vine, and Tesco refused to come on, but they got somebody else on from the retail consortium who concurred that I was actually right, because I owe the money to Tesco and they didn't have any signs up saying that they don't accept them. They were kind of obliged to accept them. They had no legal recourse if they don't. So I did it for quite a while, just to prove the point. And what is the point? Okay, well, I think it's a matter of rights. Like, rights are legal principles for freedom and entitlements. So if it's been legislated, particularly by the Queen, that these coins are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom, we should be able to, as a right, be able to use them for payment throughout the United Kingdom, I think. And when the country's biggest retailer is telling you, no, we won't, and the police are saying, you do what they say or we'll arrest you, then I think it becomes an issue where you have to stand up for your rights and say, no, that's not what the legislation says. You swore an oath, you know, to the police I'm talking about. You swore an oath to the Queen, and the Queen legislated these coins as legal tender. You should be impartial. You shouldn't be taking the side of the supermarket. So anyway,
sorry to interrupt you. I've got the I attached the Royal Mint page there. It says legal tender guidelines, and it says, in practice, this means that although the silver UK coins reproduced in denominations of 5, 20, 50, and 100 are approved as legal tender, they have been designed as limited edition, collectible or gifts, and will not be entering general circulation. As such, UK shops, banks, and banks are unlikely to accept them. But if you scroll down here, and they've got coins. Coins are legal tender throughout the United Kingdom for the following amount. And they've got the £100, 50, 20. So they actually are kind of vague, that statement. But
unlikely, they say, don't they? Unlikely.
Yeah.
That's not legislation. That's just like a matter of opinion, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So could you maybe, I guess you're probably going to explain to the viewers, but how the legal tender laws work. For example, I think you went to a Barclays bank and you had a debt with them, a credit card debt. So they were, if they didn't accept your tender, they were basically saying that they were absolving you of your debt. So and also when you go to a petrol station, the way it works is that you put the petrol in the tank and that becomes yours, but you have a debt to the petrol station.
Yeah, that's right. Well, legal tender means that it's money that courts are obligated to recognise as a legal form of payment. So some people confuse that. I mean, I'm no legal expert, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm just a carpenter. Some people confuse that to mean that legal tender is only relevant in a court. But you know, like justice is only established in the court. So if there was a dispute about a debt, then the place it gets established as to who's right and who's wrong is in the court. So if I filled up with diesel and offered these coins as payment and the garage refused to accept them, and then pursued me through the court would be obligated to recognise the coins as legal payment. And I don't know, they might say, look, you do need to pay for the fuel still, and then I'll just pay with the coins into court. Yeah, or they might say, I don't know this because it's not been tested yet. They might say, look, he offered to pay you the coins with the Queen's coins. And don't forget, the courts are by the Queen, aren't they? They're Queen's courts. But you refuse to accept the coin, so therefore there isn't a debt anymore. It's been negated. I mean, I don't really know whether I'd have to pay or not. Just to make it clear, I am happy to pay. I'm not a thief. I never want to avoid paying. I'm happy to pay, but I want to pay with the coins that have been legislated as legal tender. It doesn't matter whether they've designed to be in circulation or not. If they're got that legislation, then I can use them as money.
Yeah, that argument of being it being collectible or commemorative is a bad argument, because we have the normal coins that we use, like a 1 or 2 pounds or 50p coins. There's a lot of them that are commemoratives and people still accept them.
Now, interestingly, it's a shame we didn't discuss this and do a bit of homework on this before, but I've got the legislation for all of the, these coins and the new £1 coin. So the legislation for these so-called commemorative coins, so that's the 20, the 50 and the 100.
So the 50 is an ounce and the 100 is 2 ounces, right?
That's it, yeah. And then the 20 is a ½ ounce.
Yeah.
The legislation for those coins doesn't mention anything to do with commemorative or circulation. It doesn't say that. And it doesn't say that about the new £1 coin, the bimetallic one. Let's get one of those out. One of those.
Oh, yeah.
Just the standard £1 coin, yeah? Right? Nowhere in the legislation does it say that these are circulating and these are commemorative. It doesn't say that. It's exactly the same legislation as if they're the same. And you saw on the Royal Mint website that these coins are listed in the legal tender section in the same way as these are. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
and the Royal Mint made a statement, like you said, about opinion, which is not the law. It's not legal, but they had to put it on the same list. Yeah.
I mean, I think the truth of the matter is, I think they've abused their position of trust as the issuer of the coins. The Queen said that the coins are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom, and they've used that to make themselves a quick buck by being able to make these coins and sell them for £100 when they've only got at the time probably about £30 worth of silver in them. If they were bullion coins, it would be £30 worth of silver, and they'd probably be able to sell it for about £33. So they'd make about £3 on one coin if it was bullion. But because they've got this ability to be able to make the coin of the realm with a face value, yeah, they can then make, what's the figure? Sort of like £67 profit.
I brought up, sorry to interrupt you. Let's see, I've got a chart here of silver in sterling or pounds. And so if you look at it from 2013, which is before they started making these coins, the price of silver is never, prior to last year, never went above 16 and never went really below 10. But we know that nowadays it's like at 18, but if you buy a bullion from a dealer, it will cost you about 25 to 30, depending on the dealer. But for example, with this £20 coin, which is ½ an ounce from 2018, silver was, let's say, around £12. So it cost them £6 to get this coin. I guess it costs a little bit to mint it, but they were selling it to us at 20. So it looks like the Royal Mint is abusing, like you said, its power to make a quick buck, and they didn't realize that someone like you and I think there's someone else who bought a lot of these coins and used it to pay. They didn't expect people to use them for circulation.
Yeah, I mean, they can't have it both ways. Either, the coins are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom, like the Queen said, and that's fair enough. Then we can use them and spend them, or they're not. And so if we can go out and spend them, then they haven't abused their position and they're honouring the Queen, who said they were legal tender for payment. But if they're just doing it to profiteer and make a monkey out of the Queen, I think that's treason myself.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many other things that they're doing that makes a monkey out of that, because the Queen is the head sovereign, and we are like sovereigns as well, and she's supposed to be protecting our sovereignty. But unfortunately, since World War I think that's gone out the window. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your idea of how the monetary system should be, the ideal monetary system, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, I'm no economist or anything, but I like the idea of, in the old days, you used to have gold and silver as money and copper. And the good thing about that is, well, the miners would dig it out of the ground and then they would get rewarded for their hard work. And the money would pass from hand to hand to hand, and retain the value of the miners' original hard work. Nowadays, of course, it's printed off of a press or made digitally with no effort whatsoever, really. So there's no hard work in the first place that there was with the gold and the silver. Now, the good thing about the gold and the silver is that governments have to live within their means. They can only get gold and silver from taxation. So they couldn't have massive armies. They can't start massive wars. They have to live within their means. If they try and tax too much, then the economy would collapse, and then their tax take would also collapse with it. So you have to try and strike a nice balance between fair taxation and so the economy grows, and being able to take enough money to be able to run a government. But you'd end up having a small government and small forces and things like that. I think it would work. It self-regulates as well. The prices find their own balance, and if there's a scarcity of money, then prices would go down. And if there's an abundance of money, then prices might go up. But it self-regulates, finds its own balance. Whereas in this system we've got at the moment, it's basically inflation, and they print money willy-nilly to bail out the banks. You get, of course, risk takers then who can speculate loads of money, because the bankers know that if they go bust, the governments are going to say, well, we'll have to bail you out because we can't be letting all the banks go bust. And they just print loads more money. And of course, all of this leads to inflation, which is a theft of people's savings by the increase of prices. And we're seeing that at the moment. It won't be long before they actually lose control of inflation, I believe, because no country in history has ever managed to be able to print loads of money and avoid hyperinflation. If they could, then Zimbabwe would be the richest country in the world, wouldn't it?
That's right. I mean, I've said that many times, and we are also seeing now like some of the symptoms of hyperinflation because we're seeing the shortages, we're seeing the supply chain problems, and the central bankers, of course, are blaming that on the higher prices. But they never talk about the fact that they created so much credit and money last year. I also saw, worryingly for the UK, that the Bank of England, they were supposed to raise rates on Thursday from 0.1 to 0.2, and they didn't, even though they think that their measure of prices or inflation is going up like 5%.
Well, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner, haven't they? When inflation starts to take off, the only tool they've got in the toolbox is to increase the interest rate. When they increase the interest rate, then the debts are going to become unpayable and people will default on their debt. So either way, you know, the system's going to fail. It's an inevitability, I believe. It's just a matter of time. I think opportunity comes out of all of this stuff. So in the same way as a forest fire destroys the forest, it gives great new opportunity to new life. So, you know, like, use your imagination and see where you think those opportunities could be if you want to take advantage of them.
Just wanted to ask you about eBay, because after I watched your videos, I tried to find some of these coins, and like the 20 pound, the 50 and the 100. And even though, for example, this coin is only half an ounce, they're going for more than, they're going for like 20 pounds because it's the face value. And I think maybe you probably, with your videos, triggered maybe some of the demand for those coins. You were probably able to, maybe 2-3 years ago, to get these coins for their bullion value.
Well, I've never been able to get them that cheap. The lowest I've ever got a £100 coin for, I think, was just over 60. That was 2 ounces for 60 quid. And I think, you know, the silver price was probably worth 38 or something like that. I can't remember.
In dollars, yeah.
I do agree with you that looking at prices on eBay for the coins at the moment, they do seem to have gone up, and people are happy to pay over £100. Well, there could be a good reason for that. You know, I've often wondered why people don't do this. But, you know, if you owe someone some money and you've got the bailiffs coming around, or you got council tax default, or whatever, or you got credit card bills that need to be paid, if you offer payment in those coins and they get refused, I would imagine that would be a great defence in court, that you tried to pay but they refused to accept the payment. So yeah. I think some people might have worked that out and realised that it could be a good way of avoiding maybe a parking fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I was thinking, because I never thought before watching your video, and I had these I have a few others of these. I think I've got 5, and I never thought of going to a petrol station and paying with it, but I might try it, see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if they haven't got a sign at the pump saying that we don't accept them, then and the agreement, you know, that normally they've got a big sign, haven't they, outside the petrol station with the price per litre. And then when you go to the pump, it will say, do you want to pay at the pump, or you can pay in the kiosk? And if you select pay in the kiosk, it will say take the fuel, then pay in the kiosk. And then as you're filling the car up, you know, you can see the numbers going round and the litres going round. And that's, you know, that's how much you've got to pay at the end of it. So at the end of it, say the bill's £100, unless there's signs up saying that they don't accept £50 notes or £20 notes, or they don't accept cash. If there's no signs up, then the assumption is they accept all of the legislated tender. That's clearly, you know, on the Royal Mint's website or the Bank of England's website, and those £100 coins are legal tender. So therefore, they're kind of legally obliged to accept those coins. They don't have to accept them, because they could let you have the fuel for nothing, couldn't they? That, you know, you can't force them to take the money, but that doesn't mean that if they refuse to accept the coins, that you're obliged to pay in some other way. Otherwise, they could say they want paying in rare stamps, couldn't they? You know, yeah. They could say, oh, I want paying in rare stamps. It's got to be face value, rare stamps. You know, you say, well, I didn't see any signs for that, and they'd have entrapped you, wouldn't they? So we've obviously got legislation that sets out terms of commerce, and these coins sort of fall within that legislation that's already been agreed.
I've noticed that the Royal Mint, they've stopped minting these high denomination silver coins. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you've looked at it. Do you think they've twigged out that that it was a problem?
Yeah, I think they've sussed out that it was a mistake, and they'd be better off sticking to making £100 1 ounce gold coins that are worth 1,350, because nobody in their right mind would want to go and fill up their car with diesel and then go and pay with one of those. Although if I was a wealthy man, I might give it a go. Well, I think I got up to the point where I was paying with £20 coins, and Tesco agreed to accept those. I did it for some time until I got a bit bored of it. And then about 5 years later, the Royal Mint released the £100 coin. I think that was in 2015. Yeah. So I thought, oh, that'd be interesting to see their faces when they get a one coin, because most people think of coins as small change. They don't think of it as a big high value, high denomination coin. So I also noticed at that point that you could buy the 20s below face value on YouTube, on eBay rather. So I thought that was quite interesting, and there was a potential for a profit. So anyway, I got myself one of the £100 coins and went down Tesco, plonked it on the counter. They wouldn't accept it and phoned the police. The police came along, and I think he was actually a really high-ranking police officer. It was on the last night before Christmas, so it's a nice little Christmas present for him. And he was out on patrol. I think they were looking for drunk drivers, and he basically didn't really know what the law was on it, but he was very impartial, very professional. I've got an audio recording on my YouTube channel of this. In the early days, I wasn't very good at recording. I'm still not brilliant at filming whilst I'm trying to have this discussion with them. But he said, look, we don't know whether that coin's genuine, so we're going to seize it. And then we're going to find out whether it's a fake one or not. But we're going to send you on your way. And I said, yeah, that's fine. So I went on my way. I didn't pay for the fuel. I told Tesco that when I get the coin back from the police, then I'll come in and pay for the fuel. And that was that. And off I went. So in the meantime, after Christmas, later on, I thought it'd be interesting to speak to trading standards about it, because this is basic commerce and basic trading, isn't it? So the guy was quite interested actually in trading standards, and he recommended I wrote a letter of complaint to Tesco head office and send it recorded delivery. So I did that, and I got a letter back saying, we will accept those coins. So I thought, well, that's great. I got the coin back from the police. The police sent the coin off to the Royal Mint, who said it was genuine. And I went down and I paid for the fuel with that coin. And Tesco had agreed to accept them. So that was great. So I would buy them on eBay. I'd never pay more than like £80 for 100, including postage, that was. And, with a bit of work, you could kind of like buy plenty. And so I filled up my tank on a regular basis, and my friend did as well. Paying sort of £70 or £80 for a £100 coin, and then getting, £100 purchasing power from the face value. And he actually used to buy a coin for 80, go to Tesco, put £20 worth of fuel in his tank, get £80 change, buy another coin, go to Tesco, put £20 worth of fuel in his tank, £80 change, buy another coin. So it's basically, well, he wasn't getting free petrol. Let's be clear. He's paying for the fuel. But obviously, the person who was making the loss of the £20 was the person who originally bought the coin from the Royal Mint for £100 and then sold it for 80. That's where the person who made the loss is. So that was quite amusing, that he was getting free fuel, effectively. And we carried this on for a long time. And I think Tesco's must have got about £10,000 worth of these coins. I'm a kitchen fitter, and I drive all over the show around Devon. And, over time, it adds up to a lot of money's worth of fuel. So anyway, that was that. All was well until I went to Exeter filling station. So Tesco obviously hadn't sent the memo out to all the other branches that they accept these coins. Now, there's one other detail. I don't know whether any of your viewers are aware of a chap called Daniel from the PAP report. That's the police abusing powers. Or I think that it might have changed the an acronym or whatever it means. But Dan from the PAP report, he was quite interested in the story. And when he first heard it, he thought I was wrong. So he wrote to Tesco and said that he was a student doing a research project. Could Tesco tell him all the different denominations and all the different forms of payment they accept? So they said, yeah, sure, and sent him back an email with a list of all the different payment types that they accept. And right at the very top of that list was £100 and £20 commemorative coins. So it was quite clear. I had a letter that they accept those coins, and he separately inquired and got an email saying that they accept those coins. So anyway, with that knowledge, I went to Exeter petrol station, filled up with diesel, put my coin on the counter. They refused to accept it. I refused to pay in any other way. They said, well, you fill out the no means to pay form. I said, I'm not filling that out because I have got the means to pay, the specific legal means to pay. They said, we'll phone the police. The police came along. Now, obviously, sooner or later, you're going to find a copper who is a tyrant, someone who thinks that you've got to do what you're told, or he's going to arrest you, rather than somebody who's going to say, you've got to obey the laws, or I'll arrest you if you break the law. And I hadn't broken any law, had I? But I don't think he actually wanted to arrest me, but he was stubborn in that he had given the threat, and I wouldn't back down because I'm stubborn. And eventually he arrested me and took me down the station, put me in the cells. I was treated okay, and it was quite nice to see a tour of the brand new police custody suite down in Exeter. It was some of the other police officers were actually really interested in the case. There's one particular policeman who I liked. His name was Graham. He was a custody sergeant. Now you could criticise him, say that he shouldn't have even agreed to hold me in custody because it was ridiculous grounds. But all the same, he did. But he said he was particularly interested in the case and will watch out for the outcome. So I hope Graham's seen what the outcome of the case was and is suitably interested. But anyway, I got interviewed in the interrogation room, and it just seemed ridiculous, the questions. The questions were like trying to find me dishonest in some way. He was trying to get me to admit that my whole intention is to offer the coin. They refuse it. I'll say, right, see you later then, and I drive off without paying for the fuel. And if you've watched my videos, that's not my intention at all. I don't want the coins back. Once I've given them the coins, I want them to keep the coins. That's the whole point. Now, there's only one case actually where Sainsbury's threw the coins back through the window, having refused to accept them. Where like, what can you do if you give them the money and they're in their hands and they're literally throwing them in your car? And then you can't try harder to pay than that, can you? So anyway, that was that. And the police investigated it for about 6 months. I inquired quite a few times on 101 about how they're getting on with the investigation, and they were quite cooperative, and they were also very interested in the story and the case. And they said that they've assigned a PC the task of investigating it. Now, I thought that was a bit odd because they've got all these kind of like financial crime departments and stuff like that they could have used to investigate it. They could have worked out straight away that there's clear legislation saying that the coins are lawful money, but instead they put this kind of PC on it, WPC. I like saying that because they don't like you saying WPC because it's not politically correct. But she was a woman, right? Anyway, she was asking the Royal Mint questions like, are these coins really money? And the Royal Mint, they only ever basically cut and paste answers that are already on the website. They've very carefully thought about their statements, and their weasel words, they're not clear statements. They don't explain, they don't answer any specific questions. Like, for example, what if someone's got a debt? Do they have to accept those coins? They'll just refer you to statements already on the website, which don't answer those questions. Anyway, so the police couldn't really get anywhere with it. Tesco's didn't want to cooperate. I mean, I admit I paid straight away. After I got arrested, I got released, and I went straight down to Tesco and paid the money on the card. In fact, the first time I went to try and pay, they refused to accept payment on the card as well. So, and I thought, it seems like they're trying to, I don't want them to be able to say that I'm a thief and that I haven't paid. So I want to pay, so I did go back and I paid on my card so that the bill was paid for, but there was they couldn't level the accusation that I'm a thief at me, which is obviously what they were aiming for. But anyway, after about 6 months, eventually they said they're going to take no further action. But they wrote me this letter, which was saying, we believe you committed the crime of theft. You got away with it this time because the victim, Tesco, didn't want to complain and didn't want to pursue the case. And it's very difficult, they said, to pursue a crime where you haven't got a victim. That's what they said. So they didn't take.
They used the term bilking, didn't they? I think I listened to one of your videos.
Yeah, that's right. When I was arrested, he said I'd been arrested for bilking, which is making off without payment. So I had a phone call conversation as well with the police where I was saying, look, how can I be a thief? I've paid with the Queen's money. It's ridiculous to suggest I'm a thief. And she said, now listen here. If you do this again, you'll be arrested and we will prosecute you next time. It's theft. Now, it was quite clear that I was being a thief when I wasn't. And in the end, she put the phone down on me, this WPC. So that was that. I complained through the channels, and their complaints process said that they felt that the arrest was justified. So I appealed to their independent sort of like body, and they looked at it and said that they believed the arrest was justified. So I took civil action through with Ian Gold. And Ian Gold is an excellent solicitor. He was very interested in the case. He was actually more interested in another case where I got arrested for being called Julian, funnily enough. So I went down to the police station to make an inquiry about the legality of using the coins. And I recorded all of this lot as well. Again, it's on my YouTube channel. And the policeman said, that's a really interesting question about using the coins for money. He said, I'll speak to our legal department, and if you come back in about a week or so, I'll let you know what they've got to say. So I went back about a week later, and it was like at the height of COVID sort of thing, and the first time I went down there, I went into the privacy room to discuss it with this police staff. His name's Dave, so we call him Dave. And so on the second visit, when I went back to get the answer, I went in and the privacy room door was ajar. So I saw Dave in the background. I went straight into the privacy room, and there was this sort of busybody woman who said to me, how did you get in there in the privacy room? Because it got like a locked door. Well, obviously, it was ajar. And I said to her, magic. Yeah. And she said, how did you get in there? I said, oh, magician never reveals his secrets. And she waddled off saying, we'll see about that. And then Dave saw me and he goes, oh, Mr. Chamberlain, very interesting about your coin thing, but our legal department refused to speak to you about it or comment on it. Basically, because they didn't want to say, yeah, you're right, I think. Anyway, so we had a conversation, me and Dave, in the privacy room. And then all of a sudden, the door flew open and there's two PCs there. They were saying, what are you doing in there? Come on, out of there. Bullied me out of the room. And they were going, how did you get in there? And I wasn't telling them how I got in there because it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, it's not a secure part of the police station. It's literally a privacy room. It's like a lavatory, it's got a lock on the door so you can have privacy. It's not security lock. And it's part of it's part of the public area of the police station, part of the inquiry office. Anyway, they were sort of like studying the locks to see if I'd crowbarred my way in. Or maybe they were worried I had a master key or something like that to the old police station. It's ridiculous. The WPC who was there at the time, she said, well, maybe the door was left open. And I thought, well, I'm a good detective. We went outside to have a little wander around the car park, and then when I came back to the police station, the male police officer was a typical tyrant, thuggish brute, shaved head, tattoos all up his arms, big huge arms, you know, like an ape. He said, "Oh, you're not allowed in the police station. We believe you've got a court order banning you from being anywhere near a police station." And I was like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." And so I was asking him, and I would know, wouldn't I, if I had a court order? And he was just reluctant to engage with me. He didn't want to answer any of my questions about could I possibly have a court order without even knowing about it. He didn't ask my name. He just stood there completely ignoring me until this woman came out, and she said, this WPC, woman police constable, she came out and said, "Is your name Julian?" And I said, "Well, some people call me Julian." And she said, "Well, I'm arresting you for breaking into the police station and breaching your court order." And then the thug kind of like went into action. He grabbed hold of me and wrestled my arms up behind my back and bent my fingers back. You know, it was agony, to be honest, what he'd done to my finger. Put the cuffs on, squeezed the cuffs on as tight as he possibly could. Then threw me in the back of the police van, took me round to custody. And I went in there and I met old Graham again, didn't I? So, hello, Mr. Chamberlain, it's you again. So he quickly established, because obviously he knew from the previous case my name and my address, and he quickly established that they got the wrong person, that I wasn't this Julian Chamberlain who apparently lives in Bristol. Now, I must admit, I tried to do some research and find this Julian Chamberlain who's got a court order saying they're not allowed within 100 metres of a police station, but I've never managed to find that person. I've, you know, rang various different people named Chamberlain in the Bristol area, and they've never heard of anyone called Julian with a court order. So anyway, that was that. And then they looked on the CCTV and saw that I didn't break in and that the door was left open. So they let me go. So anyway, I spoke to Ian Gold, the solicitor, about this, and he was particularly interested in that case because it's obviously a really easy win. But I also told him about the coin case, and he said, "Oh, I don't know about that. I'll have to think about that." And he spoke to his other director about it, and they spoke about it at length, and eventually came to the conclusion that it was a really interesting case. And they were very enthusiastic about taking the case on because nobody had ever come across this story before or this case. And the more they looked into it, the more they thought, well, you know, you're right. So they did, and he took legal action. And first of all, the police sort of offered £3,000 compensation, which he rejected. And then we settled on, no, he asked for 5,000 and the police agreed to settle on 5,000. Now, Ian Gold thinks that we did quite well on that. It's a decent level of compensation. But I would like to think that the police were too embarrassed to go to court and argue it out, to say that this chap was using the Queen's money to the judge who represents the Queen.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to look like a right bunch of idiots, aren't they?
So they never charged you with anything and they released you, I guess.
That's it, yeah. They never charged me with anything on either case.
I see.
Now, I'm a little bit mischievous. I don't deny it. But that isn't against the law to be mischievous. I didn't do anything wrong. But this is the trouble, I think, with the police, that they kind of try and impose their views on the way we behave when they should be policing the laws.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, the thing about the name, I guess your name is Julian Brett Chamberlain or Brett Julian?
Yeah, well, my birth certificate is Julian Brett Chamberlain,
Yeah.
but my parents decided when I was a baby that he looks more of a brat. So,
All right.
when this police officer came out and said to me, "Is your name Julian?" I said yes, and she said, "Well, I'm arresting you for breaching your court." And she could have said, "Is your name Julian Chamberlain? Do you go by any other names? What's your address and date of birth?" It could have reminded me that it's quite a serious charge of breaching the court order, you know, and I would have cooperated, or maybe I would have cooperated. And they could have established there and then that I wasn't that person. There was no necessity to arrest, but just to say, is your name Julian? And I go, yes, right, you're under arrest for breaching a court order. The other thing that's ridiculous, she'd just been talking to staff, the staff officer, Dave, do you remember I said his name was? Now, he knew all the details of the previous case and how I'd been arrested for at Tesco. So they knew exactly who I was, and my date of birth and my address. All of that lot would have been on file. So how she got the wrong person, well, I don't know. It's pure incompetence. Like I said about the police being idiots for arresting me for using legal tender. I mean, they're kind of idiots for arresting me for being called Julian as well.
Any last words, maybe for our viewers, not just in the UK, but all around the world, about your experiences and the lesson to be learned?
Well, I think it's important to prepare for the coming inflation. It's pretty obvious that the governments are printing money all over the world, vast quantities of it. They're trying to create inflation, but I think they want to inflate the debts away. And that's basically going to be the dilution of your savings. Don't leave it too late. I think a lot of people leave it too late, and, use a service like Bullion Vault. They're excellent. Or if you, if you'd rather actually hold the stuff in your hand, then there's plenty of coin dealers. On another point, there's a company called Chards. I'm sure you've heard of Chard.
Chard, yeah.
Chard's coins, yeah. So now Lawrence Chard, he's been very interested in this story about the coin and the legal tender thing. They've written a blog on their website all about the story. The other day they were thinking about getting me a 1 ounce gold coin, £100 face value, and seeing how I get on with that. A bit like Mark Dice in America does. He goes around, doesn't he, offering somebody a bar of silver or a bar of chocolate. So it'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it, to see if Tesco's are quite happy to accept one of those. And Charles were thinking, that it would be good value for money just from a publicity point of view, they were thinking. So I would like to take them up on that opportunity if they want to.
Yeah, or maybe also do an experiment, like in public, take a £50 note and a £100 silver coin and see which one people would want. They probably want the £50 note.
They probably would. I haven't seen a £50 note for a long time. I don't know. Probably surprising, actually, being a carpenter, because you used to get paid a lot in cash, didn't you? But I work for a company now, so I don't get any of those opportunities to earn cash. But I haven't really seen many. Another thing that's quite interesting is, like next year, I think the paper £20 notes going to become not legal tender, aren't they?
Yeah, they're phasing them out. I mean, you can still take. Can you still take them? You have to take them to the bank to get a new one, don't you? So you won't even be able to. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, people have been hoarding £20 notes for like cash jobs, and then they're going to become obsolete. Then they're going to have to kind of like somehow get rid of those, aren't they? Because they're going to become obsolete. But if they don't want to take them to the bank because of the tax liability or the questions that would get asked, then are we going to see a massive surge of cash becoming a hot potato where nobody wants to hold on to it? I think that's quite interesting, and that's coming next year.
Do you know the date, or is it from the 1st of January?
I think it was September next year. I mean, you might want to do it. And then you got the reclamation, haven't you, of the 5p's and the 10p.
I think that started in 2011, 2012, where I guess they're trying to get all of the pre-2011 5p's and the pre-2012 10p's out of circulation, because I think they're worth more. The metal in them, the copper and the nickel, is worth more than the face value. And
the bigger ones, are you?
Yeah,
the bigger ones or the small, tiny ones that we have now?
Well, I looked at that video because I watched your interview
Yeah.
about the reclamation, and what happens is that right now the 5p and the 10p coins, the new ones, they're made of steel and they're but the 10p coin prior to 2012 was made of copper nickel. And the 5p coin right now is all steel and covered with a little bit of, I don't know what it is, but it makes it look like the old coins. So what they're trying to do now is take out all the pre-2012 and 2011 coins out of circulation, because they can make a lot of money from it, because I think the metals in the pre-2012 and pre-2011 10 and 5p coins is worth more than the face value. And I saw the video from the Royal Mint announcing that, and they made it seem like it's a really great thing. But if I had a lot of 10 and 5p coins prior to, let's say 2011, I would keep them, because with the inflation, those coins are going to be worth a lot more. But there is something there that is tricky, is because it's against the law to melt coins of the realm. So, but you could probably sell it abroad and get paid for that, because they can melt it abroad, but you can't melt it here.
Yeah, but I mean, people, it's against the law to steal lead off of a church roof and melt it down, isn't it? But people still do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, these are what you'd expect at the of a country like, I don't know, like Zimbabwe with their coinage and their inflation. The coins would just get melted down for scrap metal, and it would have happened in any country like the Weimar Republic. You know, it's basically what you'd expect at the end stages of an inflation. All the coins will become made of worthless steel, or very low value steel, and all the coins out of any value. So don't forget, they've already stripped the gold ones out, swapped those for paper. Then they've swapped out the silver coins to 50% silver, and then they stripped those out and then made all the coins out of copper and nickel. And then they stripped out all the copper coins, the 1p and the 2p coins, replaced those with steel. And now they're replacing all the copper nickel ones with steel coins, you know, and eventually you'll end up with no real value in any of the money.
Yeah. I think, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's the end game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well when I saw that, you know, the reclamation. And there are still the 50p and the 20p coins. It might be worth holding on to them, because they are copper nickel. They haven't been changed to steel. So that's an idea.
I did do the maths on it the other day, actually. So it's about, I'll have trouble remembering it exactly, but it's about £4 a kilo for copper, and about £15 a kilo for the nickel, right? So this is the bit I'm gonna have trouble remembering. They're 25% nickel and 75% copper, those 5p's, 10p's, 20p's, 50p. So, you know, you can do the maths and work out what the face value of a coin is versus its value in metal. And I think it's actually still quite a long way off before the metals are worth more than the face value. But they're probably getting in there early, aren't they? And removing all the coin, the value of the coins in those decent metals well before the inflation comes, and that we get the benefit of those metals rather than them.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because you know, the people high up have probably told the people at the Royal Mint, you know, you have to do this, because they know it's coming, the hyperinflation. And those coins are going to be, you know, the metals in those coins are going to be worth a lot more than 5, 10, or 20 and 50p.
You know, and they're never going to be able to recover all those coins at short notice. So they're cracking on and doing it now, aren't they, in preparation for the hyperinflation to come. They've probably got some sort of cryptocurrency idea in the pipeline, haven't they, to replace their fiat money system, so they can maintain their power over the people. But, you know, I just think that it's a good form of rebellion to refuse to use their money as savings, but to find alternatives. I'm not a fan of cryptocurrency, I'm afraid, but I think there's plenty of other ways you can put your savings into other assets.
And it can always use the coins of the realm because, like you said, it's the law of the land. And you could even use, the old, let's say this is a shilling from, Queen Victoria shilling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really love those old coins. And there's an interesting story about, here's a crown, right?
Yeah. Which one have you got there? A couple of crowns there as well.
Yeah, actually, one of my viewers sent it to me. This is a Victoria crown. And and there's another one called a double florin here, which is 4 shillings. The crown is 5 shillings. And the double florin used to be called the barmaid's ruin, because a lot of barmaids in the pubs, they used to mistake the double florin for the crown. And so someone paid them in a double florin, and they used to give change for 5 shillings instead of 4 shillings. But this coin was not very common, but it was called the barmaid's ruin. But I think that's what we need to do. If they're going to try to force us central bank digital currency, we need to create a community where I can say to you, if you repair my kitchen, would you accept, some payment in silver?
Well, yeah, I think I probably would.
Yeah.
So you were saying, weren't you, about the shilling, right? Well, shilling eventually became 5 new pence, didn't it?
Yeah, but it used to be, a shilling used to be 12 pence. And I think it's the similar weight to a US quarter. And the US quarter used to be 90% silver till 1964. But this shilling here is from, I think, 1887. So it's 9-5 silver. But as you know, after World War I, after 1919, this became just 50% silver. And then after World War II, they just took all the silver out. And it looks like they use all these crises, like wars, to rip the public of their savings. And I think they're doing the same thing with the current crisis. And it's really interesting that they're talking about this reclamation. So hold on to your 5 and 10 Ps, I say.
There's quite an interesting angle on that, isn't it? Because they were saying at one point that card only, please don't pay in cash because you might spread the virus. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Whereas those silver coins, we're going to get one for you, right? They kill the virus, don't they? Silver.
Yeah, silver.
Kill what? Kill the virus. So instead of saying, please don't use cash, but use your card, how about please don't use your card, use silver because that kills the virus? That would be a much better way to tackle the virus, wouldn't it? And it would also make us sound money kind of advocates.
I think basically, they want to. This crisis is where we had gold and silver before World War I. They got rid of the gold, half the silver after World War I. Then World War II, they got rid of the silver, and now they just want to get rid of cash. And then we'd be, like I think you've mentioned the word seigniorage. When the government issues money, it has to, of course, or mints a coin, they have to take some value out of it to pay for the expense. But the way we're going, CBDC or digital currency is actually the private bankers will be getting the seigniorage for every transaction they do.
Yeah, I mean, in the old days when it was coins, it was you just exchanged the coin one person from the next. There was no fee that the bank charged every time you made a transaction. They've just basically wriggled their way in there and created a way of taking a tax on every transaction, haven't they, with their digital money system?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because every time you use your card, they get cut out of it, and also the people, the shops that use it, because I had a shop for a while. I opened I bought into a pawnbroking franchise, and I had a Barclays Bank card machine, and I had to pay every month a rent. Why couldn't I just buy that? So you get dependent on the banks as well. Every business will be dependent on the banks. So, Brett, it was great speaking with you. I guess we could probably speak for the whole day about these things, but we need to limit the time of the video. Maybe we can talk again. I'd be happy to talk with you as well for your channel if you'd like. And it was really interesting, and I wish you all the best. And for the viewers, make sure you go on Brett's channel, Julian Chamberlain, and subscribe.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Really interesting talking with you about it, and I look forward to speaking to you again on a similar subject.